have a stronger foothold, especially in Africa. And they will share with us some of the ideas that they have. And without wasting time, I'm going to invite Dr. Lawrence Banks, who's the Director General for ICGEB, to take us through the first presentation. Thank you. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Moshe. And thank you to everyone for being here today. Could I have that first slides, please? I loaded them on the, yeah. So while the slides are being put together, just to give you a bit of background about ICGB, we are an international organization. We have 67 member countries located throughout the world, and 30 of those countries are in Africa. So we really are very active on the African continent, and we're really looking to expand what we do here, both in South Africa and in other parts of the continent. ICGB's mission is to perform science and research in biotechnology, specifically addressing the needs of our member countries. And so what I like to think is that we're using science to promote international development. We do this through a variety of means. We have research in our laboratories, which are located here in, we have a center in Cape Town, we have a center in New Delhi, and we have the headquarters, which are located in Trieste in Italy. And within those laboratories, we touch on various aspects related to the SDGs. Obviously, health is a critical element of that, and we have labs that are working on both communicable and non-communicable diseases. For instance, various forms of virology. We have a large number of labs working on cancer, cardiovascular disorders, and so on and so forth. If you have a healthy population, you need to have a population that's well fed. And so agriculture also forms a major part of our interests. And we have very strong programs both in Trieste, Cape Town, and New Delhi, looking at development of novel biofertilizers, biopesticides, crop improvement through state-of-the-art genome editing technology, and again, so on. So within that context, we're really touching on some major aspects of the SDGs. Industrial development. Our member countries need to be able to access technologies that are relevant for actually getting products to market. And so we have a very strong program in technology transfer, both for biotherapeutics and diagnostics. But we also have a program in New Delhi, which my colleague who's with us today, Shams Yazdani, is running in the development of bioenergy. And I think this is an area which is really critical. We heard yesterday about the problems that the sugarcane industry is facing in this part of the world. The technologies that we're developing in New Delhi for bioenergy production and carbon capture, I think are really critical. Now, if you have this whole ecosystem, which is, the science that's being done in the labs, it provides a great basis for education. And so a very large part of what is where students and postdocs can gain access to ICGB's laboratories. One of the things that we really want to promote is South-South cooperation. So we can provide funding and fellowships for students from ICGB member countries or postdocs or PIs to go to other different ICGB member states. So for instance, how would that work? You have a PI here in South Africa. They develop a great collaboration with a group in Brazil, and they want to exchange, perfect. You come to us and we'll help support those types of activities. Women's education, that's absolutely fundamental. And so thanks to the generosity of the Italian government, we have a beautiful program, it's called We Star, which specifically aims at promoting women scientists in Africa $2, but it's got magnification capability where you can see the cell, you can see the nucleus, you can do some really, really cool things. And during Africa, South Africa Science Week, we've been there many, many times, and you see hundreds of kids really, really really vitalized by these sort of technologies and activities. So I think with that, in the interest of time, I'll stop. That just gives you a very quick overview. My colleagues are going to tell you a little bit about some of the activities in Cape Town. We also have one of our fellows from one of the Empower program, which is, again, a program supporting women in science from the Global South. We have a colleague from New Delhi who's going to tell you about the Indian experience. And then finally, we have Lindy from DSI who's going to tell you a little bit about the priorities of South Africa and how this fits in with IGCEB. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Banks. Much appreciated. How do we contact you? How do we get hold of you? Because
so it's my name, Banks, B-A-N-K-S, at icgeb.org. And I'm going to leave a few cards on the...
Thank you so much. So let's move to Cape Town then. Louise, invite you to take the podium and tell us, Dr. Zabine, about the work that's happening in Cape Town in terms of internationalization, but really also just what you're doing as the group leader and acting director, Cancer Genomics as well. Thank you.
Just hold on a second. We are trying to sort it out, the connectivity. Unfortunately, it was not possible for Lawrence, but can you pick up the laptop now? We had already tried 3 different connectors, and now that's the second laptop.
Yeah, you can start talking while we wait for them. Thank you.
Yeah. When I finish, they get this code. Thank you very much.
I was going to try and blame load shedding, but I can't.
Yeah. Even load shedding, after 10 seconds, you have this generator. We cannot blame the load shedding anymore. Even we are in stage 6 at the moment. Anyway, let's see if we can get the slides. If not, I just keep going. I just want to talk a little bit about the Cape Town component. We call the African component. It was established in the end of 2007. And being operating almost for 14 years. My first slide that you cannot see at the moment, which shows how diverse is our component. At the moment, we have 20 nationalities working our component. 75 to 80% of these nationalities coming from the African continent. We have fellows all over the globe, but mainly are fellows from Africa that have been trained. We have trained hundreds of fellows since the establishment of the component in 2007. And what is really interesting that we also track them down. It means after they finish their fellowship, we always in contact with them to see how their careers are being developed. And around 70% of our fellows are still here in the continent, which is kind of good, because we are not contributing for brain drain of the African continent. They are still here and they are still working. And most of them are in academia, but they have like the percentage that is going to industry is increasing. I think it's the same way the industry in biotechnology in Africa is increasing. It means they are being absorbed in the market. At the moment, in Cape Town, we have 6 research groups. The 7 will start operating this month. Still not there, but we will come. We have infectious disease, non-communicable diseases, and in agriculture. In non-communicable disease, we have cancer. Also give us the the backup for all our genomic analysis, proteomics and metabolomics. We have tropical neglected diseases and TB, and emergency viruses. The new group that is going to start working this month is going to work in the HIV
And I was thankful enough that one of my group leaders in my previous lab was an alumni of ICGB. He completed his PhD with Dr. Zabini in Cape Town. And during discussions with him, he then recommended that I reach out to ICGB, and during extensive, and I mean extensive interviews, because they are quite selective about who they choose, I was then chosen to come and do my PhD in cancer genomics under the supervision of Dr. Zabini. My first recipient fellowship that I was awarded was the Empower Women in Science Fellowship. Master's degrees plant by biology. I was in cancer genomics, so I'm happy to say that the two of us are indeed doing our PhD with ICGB to further on our careers. Out of the 5, Maria, for example, she was a medical doctor, and she was embarking on her career in anti-malaria treatment, and she was in the bioinformatic unit. There was also Lida. Lida was from Colombia. She was a visiting professor who had who was doing her research in COVID-19, and she was with the virology department. And obviously Najin, I think, was a postdoc, or she had finished her PhD in anti-malarial drug discovery, and she obviously got the award. So it really did look at women in different stages of their science career. What I really appreciated about the program is that it gave me it was a pre-PhD program. It gave me a little taste of what was to come in my PhD journey, and it exposed me to really a diverse group of scientists, women, and there were also some men as well. And when we say international and we say diverse, it really is diverse. I mean, out of the 5, we were all from different countries, but then when you get there was somebody from Kenya, there was somebody from Egypt, there was a friend from Cameroon, from Togo, Madagascar, there was somebody from Zimbabwe, and also Mozambique. And really, when you get there, it's a dynamic group of people, and it's really interesting and it's really fun to just be amongst them and to hear, to understand that the common language that we all understood was science, because everybody comes from different backgrounds, but in some way or somehow, the program is set that we are in sync. As well, the Empower Fellowship is a 6-month fellowship scheme, and if you really think about it, ideally we've all been in research at some point in our life. When you get into a lab, 6 months, realistically speaking, is a short space amount of time to really do something where you have adverse outcomes. So realistically, you'd have to draft out your proposal, you have to order reagents, and so on and so forth. But with us, I realized with ICGB, the minute you get there, all the administrative and all the logistics are done ahead, so that when you do arrive for your short-term fellowship, it's on the get-go. You really start and with your project. So it was a general great environment in which I could develop my PhD. So when I arrived, you don't really see the slides. So the minute I arrived, my project was actively involved in patient recruitment. So immediately I was thrust into, Nadine, patient recruitment. Ethics was already done, so go on into doing your into your patient recruitment, gaining consent. Yesterday we did speak about preclinical trials, and one of the points that was raised was the importance of engaging with patients and explaining the project. So I was actively involved in that. I was involved in really my first objective of my project. I did the science, sample collection, sample processing, as well as helping out with other projects, because at ICGB, the motto is really teamwork. So it's not really your project alone, but you do help and that every question marks that I had when I eventually was awarded the South African Women in Biotech 3-year PhD program. I got the award. And from the get-go, obviously, the Empower Fellowship allowed me to just go in directly and complete my PhD, because realistically speaking, 3 years is a short time. So the added benefit is that I have 3.5 years. So when I got this fellowship, I was already in the midst is investigating the exosomal microRNA in a South African prostate cancer. We know from study and research that prostate cancer is quite aggressive in African men. So my project really looks at the role of exosomal microRNA in cancer, in prostate cancer projection, progress and development in a South African cohort. So we have other cohorts, but I'm actively involved in the South African cohort. And that is all. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well done. Congratulations on joining the program.
Thank you
and
so
sharing that. All right, we're moving to for microbial engineering at the ICGEB in New Delhi. Over to you, sir.
See if I can connect us. I'll just. Anyway, I'll start speaking. So, my role really
Use the mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my role really is to tell you about how India has progressed in biotechnology sector and what Indian ICGB component has done in this field so far. So basically, just to give you about the history of Indian biotechnology. So Indian leaders and visionaries started thinking about it 4 to 5 years, decades back, when actually that time genetic engineering and biotechnology wasn't taken as a very positive aspect socially. So in that, oh wow, thank you. I'm a lucky one. Okay, so great. So in that context, Government of India has separately established Department of Biotechnology under Ministry of Science and Technology. So this is one of the country where you have a independent body to fund biotechnology research in different institutions and universities. There are 19 institutions which are actually coming under Department of Biotechnology, which has a direct funding from biotechnology department, and ICGB also receives fund from Department of Biotechnology. So in addition, there are several projects and all that that comes under it. So basically this was established in 1986, 37 years back, on a similar time frame in which also India was thinking that it is not just internal matter, it has to be internationalization. So that's where ICGB was also established, and the component actually became functional in 1987 itself, ICGB New Delhi. So in that sense, it was also known that it is a biotechnology, their technological component is involved in this, so it has to reach to the society. So government also established an independent organization called BIRAC, Biotechnology Industry Research Assistant Council, so to strengthen the biotechnology industry in India. So you can see that now, okay, the slide is not
Use
changing.
the device to advance the slide.
Well, it has I see. It has advanced here. Okay. So you can see that under this organization, which is basically not-for-profit public sector enterprise, almost 3,500 startups have already been funded by this. So there's a lot of startups initiatives that have taken place in India, and especially in the biotechnology sector. And a lot of other programs have been supported under this particular section. I'm just trying to move faster. So you can see that India is among top 12 destination for biotechnology investment and progress worldwide. And there are more than 1,400 manufacturing plants which have been compliant with WHO requirements. There are several other, many, but these are something which have already compliance with the WHO requirements. And India is the world's third largest manufacturer of recombinant hepatitis B vaccine, second largest producer of BT cotton, and very, very recently, India also passed legislation where genome-edited crops would be deregularized. So I'm sure this field is going to move much faster in India. So far, it was a little lacking, especially when it comes to the food crops for genome engineering. And now it should be going up. So at this moment, it is almost 85 billion US dollar industry, which is picking up very fast at the rate of 19 CAGR growth rate. So we are hoping that it will become an almost $300 billion industry by 2030. So what are we going, what are going on in the ICGB New Delhi components? I'll just tell you some brief about the technologies that are developed at ICGB New Delhi. So I presented yesterday some of the technologies where I myself was involved, so something for sugarcane beneficiation. So we developed enzymes that can be used to convert bagasse and other lignocellulosic biomass. So every ton of sugar that we eat, it produces 2 tons of the lignocellulosic waste, which is in the form of bagasse or the cane trash. So that can be converted into, that has almost 70% of sugar polymers. So if you use enzymes that we have developed, we can convert it into the sugars. And also we have yeast, which can convert the sugars that are there in the lignocellulosic biomass in the form of C5C6 into ethanol. There are also yeast, thermostable yeast that has been developed that can efficiently convert molasses sugar into ethanol. So you can work at 40 degrees when you grow in a very big fermenter. The metabolic activity leads to a higher temperature, and therefore the thermostable yeast are very useful in that section. We also work very, very seriously on the carbon capture areas, because climate change is one thing that India really look very seriously. And in terms of that, there are genetically engineered algae that have been developed that can capture carbon dioxide much more efficiently than any normal algae or plant. So flue gas could be used as an input gas for capturing those carbon dioxide from the engineered microalgae and convert it into various products. Biodiesel is one of the things that have been targeted, but we're also looking at other products as well, including food, nutrients, and biochar. Hydrogen is another thing that is coming up now. As I said, genome-edited plant has been actually deregularized. So these are some activities that are going to be very, very taken in a fast-forward manner. A genome-edited rice plant has been generated in ICGB, which can actually have a much higher level of iron and zinc in the endosperm of the. Usually these are something that earlier was on the coach of the seed, but now it is inside the endosperm. So you can simply have the rice which have higher content of iron over the zinc. And these are something that probably will be developed in a faster mode for further commercialization. During the COVID period, ICGB New Delhi was also in the forefront in various research, and it has discovered an antibody, a monoclonal antibody that has actually targeted COVID virus for inhibiting its growth and internalization. Actually, this paper came in a Science Advance, and this is something to be used as a therapeutics which ICGB is considering. In the last part of the slide, so ICGB New Delhi had been working for very long on the dengue viruses and dengue diagnostics and dengue vaccines and dengue drugs. In India, most of the diagnostic kits that are available in the market has come out of the ICGB technology. So Dr. Naveen Khanna had been working on this. We also have a very big collaboration with Sun Pharma to develop dengue vaccines and drugs. So with that, thank you very much.
Fascinating.
Component, and the ICGP component in Cape Town is not a South African component as such, but it's an African component, and we really expect Africans to make use of it. And the reason why we are investing so much in the ICGP component is because we have a bioeconomy strategy that we have to implement. And from where I'm coming from, I was just asked to tell you about the DSI and what we do. While they are still putting the presentation on, the DSI is one of the government departments in South Africa, and we are responsible for issues of science and innovation. We just moved from being the Department of Science and Technology to being the Department of Science and Innovation. This is our mission and vision. We do provide leadership and an enabling environment and resources for STI, and support South Africa's sustainable development. Our vision is to increase well-being and prosperity through science and technology and innovation. Our values is innovation, knowledge sharing, professionalism, ethical behavior, and our brand is really about making sure it's possible, and it's possible for the South African community. We've got 5 programs. Program 1, we call it administration. That's where your HR, your communications, and supply chain sits. Then program 2, that's where you get your technology innovation, and that's where actually our bioeconomy strategy is being implemented. And we also have program 3, international resources and cooperation. And we have program 4 that is responsible for human capital development. And then we have program 5 that is responsible for socio-economic innovation partnerships. This is just an expansion of what the programs are all about. Program 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I already spoke about that. And we operate within the National System of Innovation. These are our entities, the NRF, the Technology Innovation Agency, NIPMO, the CSIR, the South African National Council for Natural Sciences. This is a council that actually registers natural scientists. I know a lot of people don't know about it, and the minister has just also mandated us to talk about it so that people knows that this is also an entity within the DSI. And we also have ASAF, which is the Academy of Sciences of South Africa, that provides policy advice to the department. The Human Science Research Council, if you have heard the minister yesterday, he kept on talking about science and social sciences. We are trying to bring them together because you cannot do the natural sciences without involving the people. The science that we are doing should actually have an impact to the people. Then we have this, the South African Space Agency, SANSA. And this is just the landscape that is showing where we are coming from as the DSI. As you see, where we are coming from up until where we are now. We just reviewed our white paper in 2019, and after reviewing the white paper, we also developed a decadal plan, which is gonna be used to implement the white paper. We come a long way, as you can see. There was a time we were within the Department of Science, Arts and Culture, and at some point we moved from there to be the Department of Science and Technology. Up until now, we are the Department of Science and Innovation. And what is it that is in the white paper, and why? What was it that maybe was changed? The white paper now wants us to focus on increasing the focus on inclusivity and transformation. You know, as South Africa, we've come from a long history where other people were excluded. So now we are trying to bring everybody so that they can all benefit. And we also want to enhance innovation culture in society and government. We want everybody to be involved in the innovation space. For the longest time, we thought maybe innovation happens only in the academic sector. There's a language that we use where I come from, where we say there's garage innovation. So how do we make sure that we support that garage innovation? And we also want to improve policy coherence and budget coordination. As it was said earlier, that science is actually cross-cutting. The decadal plan that we have is not a Department of Science and Innovation document, but is a document that is actually for the entire government. Everybody must see himself or herself in the decadal plan. It is actually was approved by cabinet so that each and every department can also be able to put in some funding in terms of implementing the decadal plan. Resources are dwindling. I think today you saw on the news that National Treasury is saying there's no money. So with this budget coordination, we will be able to do some work if all of us are putting something together. And we also want to make sure that we bring afford an enabling environment for innovation. I think I spoke about that. And also develop some local innovation systems, and also bring in grassroots innovators, as I said, and also expand the research system really, and also make sure that we develop human capabilities. And of course, the reason why we are here, also talk about Pan-African STI agenda. I think even from the first session that was here earlier on AFCTA, we cannot do away with Pan-Africanism. We need to work together as Africans. We share the same challenges, and we must start looking at each other than always going to the West to look for solutions that are also in Africa. And we also really want to increase investment in NSI. You would have heard the DG, I think yesterday, at the dinner, where he was talking about the fact that private sector is also contributing to what we are doing. For each and every rand that we are putting, there's something that they are also putting. Is it me that stopped? Okay, all right. And there was a foresight study that was done that actually informed what we need to do going forward, and these are some of the priorities that came out: climate change and circular economy, education for the future of society, ICT, smart systems, high technology industrialization, nutrition security. Minister spoke about this yesterday in his keynote address, and water and security, health innovation, and sustainable energy. This is just an expansion of what we need to do on circular economy and whatnot. The same with the slide. I am trying to be fast as possible. And what are the proposed priorities of the Innovation and Skills Compact? We want to develop skills for innovation, and we also want to work on the IP leakage and also make sure that publicly funded IP turns into products we commercialize and we bring them to the market. I was really taken when I heard my Indian colleague saying that in India, the work that comes from the IGCEB is actually what is driving their economy and their industrialization. And of course, also improve capabilities across government to support innovation. And we also want to develop an AI strategy and ethics framework, and I think these ones are already done. And I'll pass, these are system goals for the decadal plan. But of course, with all the areas that I showed you that we want to work on, the issue of innovation for a healthy population, which I think is more relevant to the work that is done by the ICGP, and hence we are supporting the ICGP. We would have seen during the COVID-19 that as Africa we were left alone, and we had to do some work to also make sure that we succeed. And I like the way these sessions are connecting from the comments that were made by Dr. Libya in terms of the plant that is used for mosquitoes, and the questions that they were asked by a brother there regarding COVID-19. So hence we have the bioeconomy strategy. Quickly again, this is also just how we are implementing the decadal plan. But where I come from a program that is called International Resources and Cooperation, and our work is really driven by the South African foreign policy, our decadal plan, of course, the white paper, the medium expenditure framework, as well as our national development plan. We really want to make sure that we work with our African brothers, promote South-South cooperation, BRICS, EU, the UN, as the ICGP is a UN entity. And some of our thematic areas that we want to promote is bioeconomy, energy, space, circular economy, and really also make sure that we promote the SKA wherever we are, and also support the historically disadvantaged institutions. If you're a South African, you will know that our institutions are not yet at the same level. And of course, we also want to support women, and also make sure that in terms of race, the previously disadvantaged are benefiting, the youth also benefit, because as Africa, if there's something that we have in abundance, or what is our gold, is the youth, and we must really invest in the youth. And what instruments are we using? We've got a national funding through the National Research Foundation. That's how we support our research and innovation programs. And we put in some seed funding in our institutions so that they are able to do the work. And of course, we promote joint programs for international researcher training and mobility. And we also support promotion platforms for international cooperation opportunities. And we also encourage technical exchanges and policy dialogues. I was happy to see my sister from the DRC. I think you started with your junior degree here, and now you're actually doing your PhD. And we'll also love to see that happening to our South African brothers and sisters. I think the opportunities that we are affording are not taken. Some of them, if they want to take opportunities, they want to take opportunities that are going up north. There are opportunities in Africa, please do take them. That's where you'll actually learn stuff that will make you to be able to come back and work and bring change in South Africa. And of course, we also promote our work through events such as this one, the BioAfrica. One may ask, why are you, others will say, why are you wasting money in this conference? This is where some of the decisions are taken. This is where some of the bigger things are concluded. So we support the BioAfrica, your global Earth on observation, ministerial, and the South Africa Science Forum that is coming in December. You are all invited. It's free of charge. You don't have to pay anything. It will be in Pretoria. And I spoke about that, what is it that is enabling our work, which is the foreign policy. And just to show a map, in Africa, based on the Africa bilateral cooperation, where you see a blue, we have S&T or STI agreements. Where you see a red, I think we are on the pipeline to signing an agreement with that country. And yes, the countries may not all be active at the same level, but most of them are very active. They have got good researchers. They are doing great stuff. Hence, we are working with them. And what are the programs that we are supporting? It's research and development, like I said, and the health RDI, which may also be relevant to this, and agriculture. And I don't have to talk about this. What I also did was to look at common areas of collaboration across all African agreements. And these areas are featuring in almost all the agreements and the program of actions: your biosciences and biotechnology, space and health, renewable energy, STI policy, information and communication technology, water RDI, mining, climate change, nanotechnology, health, water, indigenous knowledge system, intellectual property rights. So from all the countries that you saw in that map, when we get to a level of implementation and we have a program of action across almost all the countries, these areas are featuring. And I also now looked at the list of ICGP countries which are there. And almost the countries that are here are also in the list of the countries that we are collaborating with. Unfortunately, Dr. Banks now is not here. We were talking about how do we now start working with these countries at an Africa level, trying to bring some consortiums, because all of them, they are members of the ICGP, and they also have a relationship with South Africa, but it's something that we will talk about. We already started talking to other countries. Maybe as we move forward, we will be able to have high impact projects and programs that can come from those partnerships, whether it's trilaterals or more than that. And then, what are the opportunities in international cooperation? From the South African perspective, we want to internationalize South Africa's research. We also want to give exposure really to our students and researchers, like I'm saying, and also getting funding for research activities. And we also want to support all the role players in the NSI, whether it's TVETs or technology, University of Technology, whoever that is on the system will want to support them. And of course, when you collaborate, we are building human capacity. And we also want to have access to these large research infrastructures, such as the ICGP. And we also want to bring in some investors. We want business and whoever to know that they can invest in science, because the research that we do at the end of the day, it ends with the private sector. How do we get them to also fund the research? And we also want to contribute to the developmental agendas from the SADC, AU, and at a global level. And really, science knows no borders. So our foreign policy, it says it's a better South Africa in a better region, better continent, and a better world. So as South Africa, we started the region, SADC level, the AU. Then we want to support the global agendas, such as the Sustainable Development Goals. And of course, we also have partnerships, Africa-EU partnerships. And we also want to respond to the SADC, DISA strategy, as well as Agenda 2063. If we are not able to respond to those, it means we cannot be able to respond to the Sustainable Development Goals. Hence, we want to collaborate from this level. And these are just some of the ideas of initiatives that can be pursued. Like I said, whether it's twinning of universities, whether it is whether it is jointly applying for funding, because you can see that now funding is dwindling and there's no institution that wants to fund one single person or one institution. But if we work as a consortium, we can be able to get funding. And there are a lot of instruments that we can use. I spoke to Prof. Banks about the OR Tambo research chairs that are there in Africa. We also have your Commonwealth, your Eureka calls, and all those. And thank you. I hope I didn't take much time.
Thank you. You ate into our lunch, but nice round off to our session. Because of time, I'm going to ask that we close. Can we give them all a round of applause? Thank you very much. Please feel free.
And my presentation available to everyone. Just drop us a line. We can give the presentations, okay? At least that's what we can do.